I mean, declared or not before its use. Okay, before its uses, whether it is declared or not, those things can be done through these translations. Okay, apart from that, these translations, I mean, syntax generated translation can also be used for translating your source code into the your source code into an intermediate representation. Perhaps that is our next topic, intermediate code representation. So that is also possible by using these syntax generated translations, right? Now let us get into this. Now, what is syntax generated translation? Syntax generated translation is a translation of languages guided by CFGs. What is CFG? Context free grammars. Okay. What does I mean the context free grammars are meant for defining the structure, no syntax. Okay. The translation of languages is guided by the syntax, we can say. Syntax is, I mean, specified by means of CFGs, right? So information associated with programming language constructs or attributes attached to grammar symbols, values of attributes computed by semantic rules associated with the grammar predictions. Okay, here what happens is, here we'll try to predict the meaning of a statement or a sentence or an instruction by means of its attributes. Okay, what are attributes? Attributes are nothing but the properties of a particular construct or the properties of a particular symbol in the source program. Like if you take the previous example, if you consider the previous example, int x equals to 15. Here x is the symbol or the construct under consideration. Then what is x value? What is the location of x? What is the type of x? These are all attributes of x. Okay. Then they will describe the properties of x. The attributes are nothing but the properties, we can say. Okay, are the characteristics of x, and the values of these attributes are computed by semantic rules associated with the grammar productions. Okay, so here what we'll do is we'll try to have something like an extension of context free grammar. Okay, that is what we call attribute grammar, right? In attribute grammar, each and every symbol is associated with one or more attributes, and each and every production rule is associated with one semantic rule, one or more semantic rules. Okay, right? So whenever you are about to reduce or expand a production rule, then its corresponding semantic rule will be carried out automatically. It will be executed. Okay, so that means we are in parallel, we are doing both syntax analysis as well as the semantic analysis. Okay, so in parallel we are doing semantic and syntax analysis. Like we'll be having two stacks now. In one stack is for parsing, the other stack is for semantic analysis. Okay, so these two stacks will carry out the operations simultaneously. Okay, so the first stack will give you the structure, whether it is structurally correct or not, and the second stack will give you the meaning. Okay, the value of a particular statement or the meaning of a particular construct, right? I hope I got my point, right? So this is what we call an attribute grammar. Attribute grammars are something like, so before going to see what is an attribute grammar, let me tell you a small point here. I forget to tell you. The output of the syntax analysis is the parse tree. Okay, if you are able to successfully validate a particular sentence, then you will get a parse tree for that from the syntax analyzer. That parse tree will be the input for the semantic analysis. Okay, so what is the output from semantic analysis? The output from semantic analysis is the parse tree decorated with the attribute values. Okay, so this is what we call annotated parse tree or decorated parse tree. Okay, The meaning of annotated parse tree is that each and every parse tree construct or the parse tree symbol is decorated with its meaning, its attributes, okay. So if the meaning is associated with the I mean the symbol, we can easily check whether say suppose what is the type of x. If x type is int, if there is a rule like if x dot type equals to int, then by looking at the annotated parse tree we can say x is of type int. If x dot type is float, we can say x is of type float, okay. So that attribute or the meaning or the semantic information is embedded in the parse tree construct itself, okay. So after syntax related translation or after the semantic analysis, we'll get an annotated parse tree. This annotated parse tree will help us to find out the semantics of the programming language constructs or the statements or the sentences or the instructions that are written in the source code, right? So మేడం క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను మేడం, మళ్ళీ చేస్తాను. So there are two notations for associating semantic rules. One is syntax directed definitions. Don't confuse this with the syntax directed translations. Syntax directed translations is the general name, okay. Under syntax directed translations we have two types of syntax directed translations. One is SDD, we call it as SDD, syntax directed definitions, okay. The other one is TS, translation schemes, okay. So we look into them in detail. So in syntax directed translations, in SDD, semantic rules perform various activities like generation of code, save information in a symbol table, issue error messages, or other activities. As I told you earlier, each production will is associated with a semantic rule. This semantic rule, it may not be just evaluating the semantics. It can perform other activities also, like generation of intermediate code or generation of the target code, save information in a symbol table corresponding to that particular symbol and under consideration. And if there is a semantic error issue, error messages or other activities, okay. So the semantic rules is the translation of the token stream, right? So this is the conceptual view of syntax directed translation. So from the input string we'll construct a parse tree, okay. From the parse tree we'll get something called dependency graph. From the dependency graph we'll get the evaluation order for semantic rules, okay. So why we need this I mean path means like in attribute grammars what happens is each and every production rule is associated with the semantic rule, no. The order of these semantic rules are not specified in the attribute grammars, okay. Only the semantic rules are listed out, but the order of execution is not specified or not given in the attribute grammar, okay. If you want to obtain the order, we need to know which semantic rule will be evaluated first, which one to be evaluated next. Those things you need to know. So that evaluation order can be obtained from the dependency graph. Dependency graph is something like let us assume x equals to y, okay. If you want to evaluate x equals to y, hello, noise is
మాట్లాడితే గసురుకోవడం లాంటిది కాకుండా నార్మల్గా చెప్తే ఎవరైనా వింటారులే.
హలో,
ఇప్పుడు చెప్పట్లా అలాగా.
ఎవరు మాట్లాడుతున్నారండి? హలో రితిక్, సంబడి రాఘవేంద్ర. Raghavendra, do you want to ask something? Hello. Yes, please mute your mics while class is going on. Right? Okay, so why we need dependency graph here? Dependency graph will tell you which semantic rules should be evaluated first. Okay, so from the dependency graph we will came to know, we'll come to know that which one should be applied first and which is to be next or something like that. Okay, so what we'll do here is first from the parse tree, then we'll convert that into annotated parse tree. From the annotated parse tree, we'll draw a dependency graph. Okay, that dependency graph will give you the evolution order for semantic rules. Okay, so here you need to know what is dependency graph. Dependency graph is something like, say, let us assume x equals to y. Okay, so if you want to find out the meaning of x and y, you need to know the type of x and the type of y. Okay, so x equals to y, the statement x equals to y is dependent on x and y, we can say. Okay, you need to know the type of x and you need to know the type of y. That means the type information of x and y must be evaluated first before evaluating x is equal to y. Okay, so hence why we can say x equals to y is dependent on x and y. Okay, so this can be shown like this. Say x equals to y at the root node in a parse tree, x equals to y in the root node, and there is a down arrow, okay, pointing to x, and then another down arrow coming from x equals to y to y. Okay, so which is an indication, this is what we call dependency graph. This is an indication that x equals to y is dependent on x and y, right? So in syntax variety definitions, it doesn't specify, it's a high order, we can say it's an abstract way of representing the semantic rules. Since the order is not specified in the attribute grammars or the syntax variety definitions, we'll go for dependency graphs. The dependency graph will give you something called the topological sort. The topological sort and dependency graph will give you the right order, the right semantic order to carry out. Okay, so implementations do not need to follow outline literally. Many special cases can be implemented in a single pass. Now we'll look into this attribute grammar. What is attribute, and some definitions you need to know, some terminology. Then we'll see some example for syntax related definition by using these attribute grammars, right? So what is attribute? As I told you earlier, each grammar symbol has attributes. These attributes are nothing but the properties of that particular grammar symbol. Okay, so what is grammar symbol here? Grammar symbol is nothing but a node in parse tree or a symbol in parse tree. Okay, each and every symbol has some properties. Okay, those are nothing but those are in compiler design terminology, they are said to be attributes of the symbol, right? There are two types of attributes: synthesized attributes and inherited attributes. Synthesized attributes means these attributes, those attributes values which are based on their children in the parse tree, then they are said to be synthesized attributes. Or in other words, we can say the value, if the value of an attribute is computed in terms of its children, okay, those attributes are said to be synthesized attributes. Okay, if the values of an attribute are specified in terms of its siblings and its parent, okay, its siblings and its parent, then those type of attributes are said to be inherited attributes, right? So the kind of translation that we apply, it varies from the synthesized attributes, the grammar containing, if the grammar containing synthesized attributes, we need to have a different topological sort. If it contains an inherited attributes, then it will then we have to go for a different semantic order, semantic evolution order, right? So that we'll see in a short while of time. So a pass tree showing the values of attributes at each node is an annotated pass tree, right? The pass tree showing the values of attributes at each node is an annotated pass tree. Okay, this is the output, okay, that we obtain from the semantic analysis phase. After completion of the semantic analysis phase, we'll get the annotated pass tree only, annotated pass tree. So I will show you an example so that it will be more clear to you. So what is semantic rule? So far we have seen what is attribute. And now we'll see what is semantic rule. Semantic rule, for each semantic rule for a production, as I told you earlier, semantic rules are associated with the production rules, right? If there is a production rule in the form of A derives alpha, then there is a semantic rule in the form of B goes to f of C1, C2, so on up to Ck, where f is a function, B may be a synthesized attribute of A, B may be an inherited attribute of grammar symbol on the right side of the production, C1, C2, Ck are attributes belonging to grammar symbols of production. Okay, so it is a simple thing. Okay, it seems like a more formal definition, but let me simplify it by giving a small example, right? Say suppose if y value, say let us assume there is a statement z goes to x plus y. Okay, there is an instruction in your program, z goes to x plus y, right? Here the value of z, like you want to find out the meaning of z or the value of z. So what is the value of z? The value of z is computed in terms of a function. Okay, a function of x comma y. What is this function? Addition. We are adding x plus y. Okay, after evaluating x plus y, we'll get some value. No, that value is assigned to z. That value is considered as a z value, right? Okay, this is a simple thing. This rule states that the value of z is dependent on x and y. Okay, if you perform x plus y, you will get some value. No, that value is assigned to z. So the z's value is this one. Okay, the addition of or the function of x comma y. Okay, what is the function here? The addition function. Okay, what is C1, C2, Ck attributes? Here the attributes are value, x dot value and y dot value. X dot value plus y dot value equals to z dot value. Okay, here value is the attribute, right? An attribute grammar is one in which the functions do not have side effects. Okay, except the semantic rule, it doesn't have any side effects. Okay, a grammar, an attribute grammar with all these semantic rules and attributes is said to be, a syntax directed definition with any without any side effects is said to be an attribute grammar. Attribute grammar. So there is something called S attributed definitions. Synthesized attributes are used extensively in practice. A syntax directed definition using only synthesized attributes is said to be S attributed definition or S definition. Pass tree can be annotated by evolution nodes during a single bottom-up pass. Okay, so the advantage with the S attributed definitions is that it can be evaluated by using the bottom-up passing. Okay, a single bottom-up passing, right? That means it can, I mean the semantic analysis can be carried out by means of the along with the LR parsing. Okay, what is S attributed definition? A syntax directed definition using only synthesized attributes. Synthesized attribute means the value of an attribute is dependent on its children. Okay, inherited attribute means its children, its siblings, the next nodes and the nodes at the same level and its parent. So here is an example. So has attributed definition. Here all the semantic rules are computed, I mean the left hand side semantic attribute is computed in terms of its children. So that is why it is an SA attributed definition. See here. So this is an example for an attribute grammar. Attribute grammar is an extension of the context-free grammar. In context-free grammar, we'll have set of production rules. Set of production rules. In attribute grammar, those set of production rules are extended with the semantic rules. Each and every production rule is have it will have one semantic rule. Semantic rule. Okay. Whenever you are about to reduce E to L, then its corresponding semantic rule will be evaluated in the semantic stack. Okay. So these productions will be carried out in the parsing stack. The semantic rules will be carried out in the semantic stack parallelly. Okay. So you can see here f derives digit is a production rule. Its corresponding semantic rule is f dot val equals to digit dot lex val. Okay, the lexical value of the digit. Okay, that means the face value of the digit is assigned to f dot val. Okay, right. So when it comes to this rule, when you're about to find out reduce grouping of E to F, you need to find out the meaning of F. What is the value of F? This value of F can be computed by means of the semantic rule. F dot value equals to E dot val. Okay, E dot val. Similarly, T dot val is computed in terms of, sorry, this is E dot val equals to F dot val, and this T dot val is F dot val. And here, when you're about to reduce T1 star F to T, the value of T is dependent on T1 dot val. What is T1? Why? Because this T is different from the left hand side non-terminal T. Okay. So that is the reason why we are using this subscripting T1 dot val into F dot val. Right. So finally, when you are about to reduce E1 plus T to E, then you will get the E dot val. Okay, we are printing that val. Right, like if you give 2 plus 5, and you want to find out the meaning of 2 plus 5. Okay, so 2 plus 5 is 7, no? Okay, so this 7 will be carried out by means of this. This is how it will evaluate. This is how it will find out the semantics. Okay, semantics of the that particular statement 2 plus 5. Right. So the attribute grammar or the syntax related definition to find out the expression grammar is this one. Right. So if you want, you can note down. Okay, this is very, very important. F derives digit. Okay, so this comes from the, I mean, this value digit dot lex value comes from the lexical analysis. Okay, so the face value 2 plus 2 is a number, no? It's a numeric digit. These numeric digits, I mean, they are identified during the lexical analysis. Okay, those values are assigned to F dot val. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. No, hello. Any doubts so far? Now see, this is an example for annotated parse tree for the same grammar, for the same syntax related definition. Now we want to compute, say, 3 into 5 plus 4, 15 plus 4, that is 19. Okay, so this is how it is evaluated in the I mean semantic analysis. You can see digit dot lex val equals to 3 and digit dot lex val equals to 5. Right, so this is assigned to F dot val and this is assigned to T dot val, F dot val, then to T dot val. That means digit dot lex val is 3, no? then the f dot val becomes 3. Okay, and that value is assigned to t dot val. No? Then t dot val becomes 3. Now this t1 dot val is 3 and f dot val is 5. Here at this node position, t dot val goes to 15. Why? Because 3 into 5. Okay, the value of this t is 15. Okay, now this is escalated to its higher layer, I mean higher level. E dot level, E dot value goes to 15 and T dot value goes to 4, and 15 plus 4 is 19. Okay, here we are using that print statement, no? Print E dot val. Okay, it will print 19. Okay, now if you look at this, we don't know in which order we have to compute, whether we have to start from the root node or from the middle node or from the leaf node. Okay, so the order of the evolution is not specified here, either in the annotated parse tree. You can observe here. Look at the semantic rules. Okay, they are simply listed out, are they are simply associated with each and every production rule, but the order of evolution is not given or not specified in this particular syntax directed definition. Okay, or you cannot obtain the order from this annotated parse tree. Okay, so that is the reason why we are going for dependency graph. Okay, so the dependency graph will give you the order of evolution. Like if you look at this t dot val, this middle node t dot val equals to 15. This t dot val is dependent on what? The t1 dot val and f dot val. Okay, t1 asterisk and f1. It is dependent on these three things. Okay, right? So that means first we need to evaluate t dot val and f dot val. Then only we can compute this t dot val. Okay, so that can be obtained from the dependency graph. Okay, any valid topological sort of the dependency graph will give you the order of the semantic rules, the evolution. Okay, the evolution order of the semantic rules. Okay, topological sort is something like, say, if you want to compute 3 into, I mean, t dot val at this intermediate node, first you can perform f dot val. First you can compute f dot val, or you can perform t dot val in either order. First you can compute t dot val, then f dot val, or f dot val are followed by t dot val. Okay, so in topological order, what happens is either t1 dot val followed by f dot val followed by t dot val. That means the dependent nodes comes only after the, I mean, the dependency nodes, like t and f are dependency nodes. No, the dependent is t. The dependent comes only after the dependency nodes. Okay, right, in the topological sort. So when it comes to inherited attributes, value at a node in a parse tree depends on attributes of parent and her siblings. Okay, it is a convenient for expressing dependencies of programming language constructs on context. It is always accessible to avoid inherited attributes, but they are often convenient. Okay, it is somewhat difficult to compute the inherited attributes. Why? Because the value of x, okay, is computed in terms of its own value and its siblings, or its parent and its siblings. Okay, if it is dependent on its parent and its siblings, usually the siblings maybe they are right siblings. Okay, in compiler design, what happens is, in general, generally we'll scan from left to right. No, so first we'll evaluate the left side attributes or the symbols, then we'll go for the right symbols. Okay, if the value of the left symbol, if it is dependent on the right symbols, okay, the right symbols and its parent, then we need to change our order, the order of evolution. First we need to compute its parent value, then we need to compute its children or the siblings before evaluating the inherited attribute or the left side symbol. Okay, but for some constructs they are useful. Okay, we'll see the examples also. See here. So this is the example for inherited attribute definition, or L attributed definition we can say, right? Here you can see D derives T comma L. Okay, D derives T comma L. Here T is nothing but type and L is a variable. L is a variable, generally int x, something like int x. Okay, you want to know the type of x. What is the type of x? Int, isn't it? Okay, now see, if T the value of x, the data type of L is key here. Okay, if you use this protection rule, D derives TL. Okay, the type information from this construct or this structure or this protection rule can be obtained by means of this semantic rule. Okay, the type information of L dot in. What is L here? L is actually a child, a children of D. Okay, right? So L dot in, L dot value is computed in terms of T type. What is T here? T is its left sibling. Okay, so that is the reason why L is said to be inherited attribute. The value of L is computed in terms of its left sibling, that is T here. Okay, if it is computed in terms of its siblings and its parent, then those type of attributes are said to be inherited attributes. Inherited attributes, right? So this is a classical example for inherited attribute grammar. L dot in equals to T dot type. T int, for this protection rule, T dot type is integer. T dot type is real. Okay. So if you want to evaluate L dot in for this particular expression, L